three of us work very closely together to form a close bond, which gets us out into the communities with the financial education, with the right products, the right access, and making sure we have the employees for the right support. Now it's my pleasure to bring up Pastor Soaries, the architect, the co-founder, the editor, the all-knowing of dfree, Pastor Soaries.
Go ahead.
Mark was a regular credential executive, and we call him Reverend Dr. Mark Hugg. He's become a Baptist preacher in his own right. He dresses like a Baptist preacher. In fact, he dresses more Baptist than I do. But thank you, Mark, for your friendship and leadership, and thank all of you. Thank you, Steve, and all of the credential executives. Thank you, dfree and First Baptist. Let me thank my wife. For those who don't know, what keeps me going is this lady right here. My wife, the First Lady of First Baptist. Whenever I am about to engage in something significant, my reflection time includes both the Bible and Dr. King's last speech. I was telling Steve earlier, Dr. King's last speech is important for two reasons. One, because it was on the day that Dr. King was killed that I went to my grandmother's house, which was just a few miles from here in Montclair. And as a 16-year-old, I was baffled by the fact that she was sitting at her dining room table in tears in response to Dr. King's death. Baffled because she was Pentecostal, Dr. King was Baptist. Baffled because she was a domestic worker and not an activist. Dr. King marched. I was baffled because she was 1,000 miles away, but his death was so significant that it caused her to be in tears all by herself at her dining room table. And although I didn't understand it then, I decided that whatever it was about this man, about whom I had heard, that caused his death to cause my grandmother to weep in silence, I wanted my life to be as meaningful as that to just one person. And so from that day until now, I have worked hard to live the kind of life that is impactful on other people's lives. The second reason I spend time, even as I did last night, reflecting on Dr. King's last speech, is because when you think of Martin Luther King, you think of social justice as we describe it today. But travel with me to December 1st, 1955. The great bus boycott movement in Montgomery was effective because of economic discipline. The boycott was an economic strategy, and the boycott won. Now fast forward 13 years later, Dr. King was in Memphis, Tennessee to support 1,300 garbage workers, sanitation workers who were on strike fighting an economic fight. And unfortunately, when people listen to Dr. King's last speech, Mark, they often listen to excerpts of the speech, and the excerpt that's the most famous, I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. But before Dr. King talked about the mountaintop and the promised land, he urged people in Memphis to open bank accounts in Tri-State Bank. He urged African Americans to have life insurance policies, and he identified the fact that there were more than a half dozen African American owned life insurance companies in Memphis, Tennessee. But Dr. King, according to his daughter Bernice, had such a passion for economic follow-through to sustain social justice that when his daughter wrote her endorsement on the back of my book, she said that what we are doing is exactly what Martin Luther King's vision was. And so this is more than an event for me, even though I do like chicken wings. This is much more than a partnership. This is a game changer that has historic potential when you have little grassroots people like us partnering with one of the major financial institutions in the world. And I just thank God for all of you, and thank God for tonight. the genesis behind tonight, by the way, was I sent a 10-minute, 10.5-minute documentary that we use that we plan to use to recruit people in churches, to give churches a tool to use. And we did this little 10-minute documentary that features a young couple that in their early 30s now has saved enough money to retire. A single mom who, because of our dfree program, enabled her to think differently, behave differently, and double her income. And a young fellow from the neighborhood who was just a troublemaker, hanging around the neighborhood as a teenager. He now owns 2 businesses across the street from our church. And I sent that video to Dorinda saying, you know, just FYI, we're in this together. I'd like you to see where we're going. She showed it to Mark Hugg. Mark Hugg, in his very humble self, said, I want that. And that turned into an event where we would premiere the video, but we can't just invite people to eat chicken wings and see a video. And so we got a choir, and we got a panel, and the budget least is here from the other side of Newark, and we've got the President City National. So now it's a whole evening and celebration, and this is really the mark of a transition to the new level of dfree engagement. But the producer of the video is here. She's a genius. She looks like she's in high school, but I want you to meet the producer of the video that we've come to premiere tonight, Sister Claire Burns from New York City. Stand there. Claire, just wave your hand. This is our producer. Thank you, Claire, for being here tonight. So, for those who don't know, I saw the run of the show the other night, and I realized that Prudential really thought this was a Prudential event. This is church. We're having church tonight. We got a great preacher who is our mistress of ceremonies. We've got a great combined choir. We've got Reverend Hugg, who's going to raise the offering. And we've got Bishop Pelletier that's going to come to bring the word. So we're going to have church tonight. So take off your little corporate hats and aprons and put on your shopping shoes. We're going to have dfree Prudential Baptist Church tonight. All right? So thank you.
I really can't say anything and add to that. I think that's great. Please enjoy the rest of the reception. We'll be going downstairs shortly.